Hey everybody, welcome to another week of ProMAX Tech Talks. I'm Matt in the living room laboratory, and as always, I'm joined by my tech team. This week, we're answering the question, why does a peer-to-peer network feel like you're still at the office? If you haven't already, hit that red subscribe button below to get the latest updates from ProMAX systems as soon as they become available. So guys, let's jump right into this. Can you guys talk about what a peer-to-peer network is and why it feels like you're still at the office?
Yeah, absolutely. So a peer-to-peer network, it's a network design where the workload is distributed. So I kind of liken it to a render farm where a bunch of workstations, computers, servers are working together. In the scenario of how we roll this out in a remote environment, we're actually using different peers or servers in this case to distribute the uploads and downloads of files so that that can all happen faster.
Awesome. So what is that? So for video editors who've been trying to juggle this remote experience now, having to work outside of their office due to COVID, how does that translate into a workflow that's still just as seamless if they were on their local server? Brian, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so one of the big benefits of the peer-to-peer network is that you are basically getting an exact copy of what everybody else is getting. And all the different peers on that network are contributing, and as people are making changes, those changes are being pushed to everybody at basically the same time. So what this lets us do is create what's effectively a real-time mirror of the data that everybody's collaborating on. So you don't have to select a file to pull down and work with. The files that you and your team are working with are constantly being updated and moved to your system. So when you're ready to use it, you can simply use it. One of the real benefits of this, though, is it means that things like relinking and file locations and conforming and all of that is exactly like it would be in your office. So doing it from home versus the office is identical, whether you're doing it on the mirrored storage that's in your media hub at home versus the original media or the updated media that's on your platform server in the office. That experience is going to be exactly the same. So when you pick up your laptop and go home, you can pick it right up and just keep going, which is
It's huge. And I think, one of the things to me that's so huge is you don't have to initiate an upload and a download. So like, as we've used this with our own stuff internally, just being able to drop a project, drop media files, work on them locally, and not think about putting those up to Dropbox or not thinking about, oh, I've got to grab that file from Matt. It's just all syncing in the background. It's the closest thing I've ever experienced to like actually being on shared storage in our office.
Yeah, absolutely. Like some of the projects we've been working on internally, we've had to adjust as well. And at first we were using our VPN while we were trying to figure this stuff out. And now our video projects, literally Nathaniel says, hey, I just made an edit. I open my computer and it's there. And
I just on the UGA video we just did, like I opened it and I was like, oh, this is great. It's like, it's a little bit soft on the audio side. So rather than telling you, I was like, I'm just going to fix this. Like I've got the Premiere project and I just fixed it. And then I told you like, okay, it's updated, go for it.
And you were able to open the Premiere project and everything relinked immediately and everything was there.
Yeah, I was not thinking about any of that stuff.
Yeah, it was probably one of the coolest experiences I've had with editing since we've been doing this kind of stuff. So guys, how do you set this peer-to-peer network up and what does that look like?
So yeah, the big thing that we really rely on in this situation is each peer on our network is effectively a small mini home server. They're tiny. Yeah, Nathaniel's got
one of these guys, and this is a early prototype, so it won't look exactly like this. But these things are tiny.
So that just sits on your desk. It communicates with your router via Wi-Fi or Direct Connect if you've got one in the room, and then you plug your workstation into it. And the real trick here is that the data, as Nathaniel mentioned, the data is constantly moving. So whether you're asleep or you're out doing something or you're working on something else, if your coworkers are updating information about a project or uploading footage about a project, it's being downloaded onto what's effectively a large cache drive that's on that system, an 8 terabyte drive, or different sizes depending on what model you get. But and then you work from that local drive on that device. So it's exactly like going in the office and working from your local shared storage. the big benefit there is you are not reliant on internet connectivity or bandwidth for the performance, your actual playback performance. Once that media is on that device, it's local to your system or to your home network, and you can work on it from there. If the internet happens to go down, yeah, you might stop syncing for a little bit, but your media is still accessible and ready to go. So it's a really key component that this hardware is there and constantly updating, constantly keeping that moving.
Yeah, one thing that you mentioned earlier too, Brian, that's huge is the conforming side, conforming or exporting media, and not needing to go through another step to actually conform, just, export the media. And the funny thing is, I actually try to just, because now I have literal shared storage at my house, which is just weird to me, but kind of awesome. So when I needed to export a copy of that project, I actually opened up my MacBook, and because why not? And I launched that project on that MacBook. So I was actually able to export that media on my MacBook while I was working on my work computer. And it was awesome.
Great. Let's see. So yeah, that's awesome, guys. Anything else we should be talking about? Let people know about these peer-to-peer networks and how they can utilize them in their workflow.
I think one thing that we didn't really touch on is why it actually allows you to distribute large files faster within a work group, which is a really important thing to understand. So as in a remote work group, everybody has limitations with their upload and download speeds. And we have to, as remote workers, be a lot more cognizant of those. In a peer-to-peer setup, instead of just having the traditional one point of upload or download going to one other point of upload or download, you can actually start uploading files that are then going to be pushed from one user to another user. So you can actually you can upload files. I'm saying this very poorly. I think we need to restart. And Brian, maybe you want to take this one?
Yeah, I know. I can certainly try. It's so if you guys remember, like the old school, like BitTorrent and Napster, right? Like you were downloading MP3 files, but you were downloading like a little bit of every file from 100 different users, and the result was, everybody had garbage internet speeds at that time. We were all on dial-up and stuff, or like DSL. But the aggregate upload speed of all of those users made your download a lot faster. And the concept is largely the same. If I upload a large amount of data, I can upload to multiple users, and then those users are getting different parts of different files. They start kind of cross-communicating and grabbing those other parts from other users at the same time as they're continuing to get data from me. So the result is, every time that I put out a file across the group, the peer network, that all those peers can reshare that information. So instead of, like, if I have a limited upload speed, if I have a 200 megabit download and a 20 megabit upload, and everybody else has the same, well, we can download from 10 different people at the same time and start getting a lot closer to our full 200 megabit download speed, as opposed to being restricted to 20 megabit download, which is what it would be if it was coming from one user at a time. There's a lot of nuance to it, but that's kind of the core benefit there. And when you have more users, there's diminishing returns over time. But as you kind of grow and have a few more users, the speed actually gets a little better. So it really helps exceed the speeds of what a VPN will do. It very much exceeds the speeds of what most VPNs will do if your network supports it.
In a lot of ways, a VPN, VPNs and peer-to-peer networking kind of meet in the middle, and peer-to-peer can only be faster than that, and VPN can only be slower than that. So it really does maximize the performance you're getting as you're moving big files back and forth. But to wrap it back to why this is like you never left a studio, because you're just putting files and folders and projects on storage that's local. You get local performance when you're editing, when you're working, and things are just happening in the background. So, whether it's in the projects we've been working on or all of our customers that are using this topology, it really is shockingly like you're just on shared storage at the office. Like it just feels and acts exactly the same.
Awesome. Yeah, we've had some great experiences with some customers who have tried that. We also have some links to those. I'll put those in the description below. So if you want to check those out, they're really good ways to see how this works in a real environment. So thanks everyone for joining us for another Tech Talk, and stay tuned for some more information coming out from us about VPNs, workflows, and how to connect your team remotely. If you'd like to have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us or send us an email. We'll be glad to talk to you. Thanks everyone, and have a great week.